Bungie ended the mainline Halo trilogy with 2007's Halo 3, but the story did not end with it. It was actually far from over. Microsoft knew that Halo was a cheat code for easy money and a guaranteed way to get people to play and buy the Xbox. So, 343 was created, and like a phoenix rising from the ashes, the Master Chief was back. And with his return came some changes. A brand new and very different art style, brand new enemies, new shitty Spartan 4s, new locations, and just a new game. That's not to say everything is very negative about this game, not even close. I think Halo 4 is actually overhated and kinda underrated. The story alone is so good. It carries, honestly. And it adds so much emotion to Chief as a character, showing that at the end of the day, he is still a human. And while, yes, we got glimpses of this in Halo 3, Halo 2, it wasn't as fleshed out. It was just to be understood, the bond that Chief had with Cortana. And the same goes for this game, honestly. Everything he's doing is for Cortana. It's all about their bond. So let's explore deeper and find out if Halo 4 is better or worse than you remember it. Before we begin though, let's take a quick look back at the end of Halo 3. Chief, the Arbiter, and Cortana all narrowly escape the ring's explosion on the Forward Unto Dawn, and while escaping, the ship takes critical damage from the ring's explosion, splitting the ship in two. The Arbiter safely lands and is recovered, but the Chief is not found and is pronounced MIA. It is here where we see Chief and Cortana are perfectly fine and decide to go into cryo sleep and wait till someone can find them, with Chief's final words being,
"Wake me when you need me."
This is right where Halo 4 picks up. 4 years after those events, Cortana wakes Chief up from sleep after a mysterious scan runs through the ship. While exploring the ship and checking the damages, Chief is ambushed by an elite. This event not only just confuses the player, but Chief too, because if you remember, by the end of Halo 3, the humans and elites had an alliance going on, ending the war. Anyway, after you assert your dominance on the fleet, the Forward Unto Dawn gets blown up again and sucked into a mysterious planet. A pretty awesome start to reboot the franchise, if I say so myself. The lore aspects might not make any sense at all, but 343 tried to explain why things look the way they do, so let's start off talking about that. So obviously things look super different compared to Halo 3 and even Halo Reach's art style. And while I personally prefer Bungie's art direction, I appreciate some of the things 343 tried and went for here. For example, let's look at Chief. He was usually a pretty slim guy with sleek armor, yet you could still feel the weight to it. But after Nanotech upgraded him while he was in cryo sleep, he became a lot thicker. No, not that, get that off the screen. His armor got bulkier to say the least. And while I don't think it's awful looking, I'm just not used to it still. He looks a lot more like a tank ready to run you down rather than a fast-paced killing machine. And Chief isn't the only one with an overhaul. The entire arsenal is changed. Some things are more noticeable than others though. The AR looks very much the same to the previous games, which is perfect, you know? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. The DMR and BR on the other hand, I don't enjoy very much. The DR just has too much weight to it, and while it does hit just as hard as it feels, I prefer the slimmer look of things, just like Reach's DMR. The BR design, on the other hand, isn't bad at all. It was just already perfected back in 2004 and didn't need a redesign. Like I said earlier, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The UNSC even changed up some. The Marines look completely different and give the impression that they might actually be able to fight in this war. Spoiler alert, they still can't. But at least they look cool doing it. Aside from the humans, the Covenant looks off. The Jackals aren't awful, I rather like them honestly, but the Elites and Grunts leave a very sour taste in my mouth. Starting with the Elites, before they had full body armor and looked ready for war. They were intimidating. Now, the minor Elites are mainly skin and it does not look appealing to the eye. The higher ranked elites do eventually look more like the ones from Reach, but those aren't as common. You mainly see the minors, and they are just gross looking. There are different subspecies of the Sangheli, so that's how they explain why their mandibles and everything just looks off, but I don't like it. The redesign just doesn't make sense, you know? Why would they decide to wear less armor? As for the Grunts, they're just ugly, man. They're very round and bumpy and just ugly. Why can't I see their mouths? Ew, I don't like it. The final change I want to talk about is by far the best. You all know what it is. Cortana. She's by far the hottest, most beautiful woman I've ever laid eyes on. This is not to say Bungie's design was bad in the slightest. No, far from it. Bungie nailed her, but 343 made her extra hot, bro. She ruined my mindset on girls. Thank you, 343, for not only ruining my dating life, but also trying something different and unique with these designs. And even though they weren't all hits, I can still appreciate what you went for here, and that you didn't just completely leech off of what Bungie perfected all those years prior. Speaking of things I appreciate, let me tell you about my favorite aspect of Halo 4. Its story. Now, I personally believe Halo 4 actually has two stories to it. The surface level story about the Didact wanting to eliminate mankind, and the story of Chief and Cortana. Both will be talked about in this video, but we're going to start with the main story first. So, after Chief is awakened and crash lands on this mysterious planet of Requiem, you start to explore and figure out what this place actually is. While doing so, you realize that this is a Forerunner planet, and the Covenant are here with this information already. You pick up signals from the UNSC Infinity flying nearby, but the connection is being blocked by the planet's magnetic field. Cortana guides Chief on how to fix the problem, and by doing so, you fall right into the Didact's trap. The signal is being tampered with, and the Infinity gets sucked into the magnetic field of the planet and crash lands just like you did. Chief and Cortana are very frustrated with this situation, and go to help the Infinity while the Didact and the Covenant bombard the ship. It's here where you encounter a character I actually really like, Lasky. You also meet Palmer. I don't like her. Anyways, they debrief you on the situation and send you to secure some areas and to get the Infinity's defense systems back online. After regrouping and creating a plan with some painful arguments in between,
You know, I think you, of all people, would appreciate the benefit of living to fight another day.
Lasky and you deploy in a mammoth to take out the magnetic pool. While doing so, Chief and Cortana both get messages and upgrades from the Librarian, another Forerunner being, but this one actually loves humans. Confused about what just happened, the player is then sent back to the Infinity to escape the Didact, but Cortana, Lasky, and Chief all advise against it and say that they should put an end to him right now. The captain of the Infinity, Del Rio, is kind of a douchebag, and he says no. So Chief then says, "Too damn bad, Del Rio," and gears up and goes to take out the defense systems protecting the Didact, in a mission mimicking New Alexandria from Halo Reach. This is a blatant copy, but I'll allow it because the mission is fun, and you fly a Pelican in this one without using an Easter egg. Once the systems are offline, Chief is led to evacuate a research center. This mission is actually one of the saddest in the whole franchise, because it leads to a massive failure, and Chief and Cortana watch as everybody's turned to ash. Literally. You only survive because of the Librarian granting you those awesome upgrades earlier. It's not really explained much, but Cortana is very shaken up by this, and it spikes her downward spiral even harder. I forgot to mention this earlier, but throughout the campaign, you watch Cortana slowly lose herself at a much faster pace than in Halo 3. The Flood really got to her, and the full effects are finally setting in. Editor note, I know that they say AI can only last 7 years before rampancy takes over, but the logic plague is just cooler, so that's my headcanon. With the mission being a complete failure and the Didact deciding to do what he did there to all of Earth, Chief has no other option than to stop him now, leaving the research center in an awesome jet. Kinda looks like a mission from Reach again, but it's okay. Geared with a nuke and a goal, you find the Didact enclosed in a shield. Cortana forces herself into his systems to disable the shields by spreading her rampant personality throughout. This one kind of reminds me of Red vs. Blue, but okay.
Firing main cannon.
Uh-oh.
What? Oh, son of a...
Chief doesn't like this plan one bit, but he knows there's no other way to make the Didact vulnerable enough to stop him. When you finally reach the final spot to spread Cortana, the Didact starts firing down on Earth, and then realizes what you're doing. As you go to retrieve Cortana's chip, he vaporizes her. Without time to comprehend what just happened, Chief pushes on and comes face to face with the man who took everything from him. He tries to stop the Didact, but was no match. Chief is now being force choked and about to be dropped into the death beam, until dozens of Cortana rise up and hold the Didact down. Chief uses his opportunity to charge it and planting a grenade. Oh, let me try that again, sorry. Chief rushes at him, planting a grenade. What? Oh, shit. He's gone. Chief crawls to the nuke, detonating it with himself there. The end of Master Chief. Wait, there's a blue glow. Cortana used up the last of her energy while still merged with the system to save Chief and say her final goodbyes. This scene alone makes up for any gripes I have with the game. The emotion felt here by both the player and Chief are unmatched. The relationship built over the past decade is over. Cortana is gone, Chief is alone.
I've waited so long to do that.
With that said, let's dive into their connection and the dialogue throughout the game. The true story of Halo 4, as I like to call it. From the very beginning, the player can see something is just off with Cortana. She's glitchy and comes across as nervous instead of her usual confident self. Chief is very quick to catch on to this and begins to worry. He breaks his character archetype in this game, shredding the strong silent type Chief we knew before. He constantly speaks up about his worries about the Didact and Cortana, and he obviously hates Del Rio as much as we do.
Captain, sir, Infinity drove the Didact back. He's vulnerable. Captain, what's Force Recon's assessment of the terrain?
Give me that chip.
The Didact has to be stopped. If you won't do that, I will.
This game shows us a new side of a beloved character, and while usually this could easily have ruined him, it did the opposite. It shows that even though this man is a killing machine, pumped to the brim with enhancements, he's still human in there. The same thing has been done recently with Kratos in God of War. Both were unstoppable beings destroying everything in their path, but after being brought back by either Sony or Microsoft, they became more than just a weapon. They became humanized and relatable. This is not a game about the Didact and his mission to destroy mankind. Not in the slightest. This is a game about Chief and Cortana's bond, a pair that's been through hell together, and how one must watch the other succumb to an illness. This is a game of love and human connection. 343 wrote Chief so perfectly in Halo 4, so I don't know what the hell happened in Halo 5, but besides the point. The motion capture is also used so well in these cutscenes to display Chief and Cortana's feelings towards each other. Her body actor matched so perfectly with the vocal emotion. Even with Chief, this worked wonders. With no facial expressions, it would usually be a difficult task, but his body language speaks volumes. Even other characters in the game can see this. Lasky is quick to understand their connection and trust that together they are enough to fix any conflict. And while Halo 4's conflicts might not be the most tense, or the villains might not be the most fleshed out, it is unmatched when it comes to an emotional level game. I wish I had more to say about this topic, but it really speaks for itself. It's like watching a movie. You have to experience it. You can't put it into words to truly understand the emotion felt here.
Welcome home, John.
Since I just mentioned the villains, let's take a look at the Didact and his army. We've heard countless legends of the Forerunners, but never actually got to experience them in a game for ourselves. And while the main fodder we fight through aren't actually Forerunners, they are made by the Forerunners. These guys are called Prometheans, and there are 3 different kinds of them. The Dogs, the Watchers, and the Knights. I don't know if they're actually called dogs, so please comment down below what they're actually called. The Prometheans are a lot tougher than the Covenant, and rightfully so. They are the main enemy this time, and the Covenant just kind of follow them along in combat. The Dogs are kind of like grunts though. Super easy to kill, but very, very annoying when in large numbers. The Watchers are more of a support to the Knights, shielding them, reviving them, even catching grenades for them. The real threat of the Prometheans are the Knights themselves. They can teleport, they have dope-ass swords, and very, very strong weapons. These weapons are some of my favorites honestly, but we'll talk about the weapons later in the video. Alone, the Prometheans might not seem like much of a threat, but that's where the problem arises. There are so many of them at all times. There's only one Didact though, and he's their fierce, independent ruler. Back during the Forerunner versus Ancient Human War, he was in high command and led the Prometheans against the Ancient Humans. This is why he has such a large hatred for humans and wants to annihilate them. We don't directly see this in game, but it's in the books, it's in the lore, I promise it's real. I often like to compare him to Darth Vader because they both lack screen time, and for some reason, the Didact has force abilities. I don't know, it's not explained in the games. Another new enemy here is this variant of Covenant, given the name Didact's Hand, or Hand of Didact. These guys are pretty much the exact same as the Covenant, just under new control, with some new goals also. But we're not going to get into that aspect of them. It's just the usual grunts, elites, and jackals. The Covenant gets a lot more screen time and detail in the Spartan Ops side story campaign, which honestly isn't bad. I might have to talk about this sometime in its own video. All in all, the enemy pool in Halo 4 is pretty cool. Some people are upset over the lack of flood, but I'm more than okay with it. All the previous mainline games covered that topic enough, and it was nice to see 343 try something new and make something of their own for their first game.
The Foreigners have returned.
Like any franchise, characters are a huge part in it, and Halo's no exception. Chief and Cortana are already established characters, and we just went over them. So let me shine some light on the newer characters that'll stay for the next 2 games. Lasky, Sarah Palmer, and I guess we can talk about Del Rio a bit. So, Lasky's the most fleshed out of the characters, with an entire prequel movie focusing on him training to join the UNSC. It's actually a really great movie, and the CGI and costumes look amazing to this day. Lasky is also the only new character that fans, including myself, actually like. He is supportive and acknowledges Chief's leadership and strength, and while he wasn't in full command of the Infinity during Halo 4, he took charge and did all he could to help Chief out on his mission. All in all, Lasky is that really nice, helpful friend that everyone just needs in their life. What he lacks in physical ability, he makes up for in kindness and strategy. Working under Lasky is Sarah Palmer, a Spartan 4, or as I like to call them, dog shit. They're cannon fodder. Not only is she a dog shit Spartan 4, but she's also an egotistical bitch. Her first words to Chief are,
I thought you'd be taller.
Shut up!
She thinks she has any right to speak to him like that. She thinks they're on equal footing. She doesn't know that she's nothing. She's literally some random Spartan 4 343 decided is gonna be important. Now, granted, she does play a bigger role in Spartan Ops as your commander, but other than that, she's nothing. And the main man leading all of them is Captain Del Rio. Now, I know I'm giving off the impression that I don't like him at all, but that's just because I don't. It's all personal though. As an actual leader of the Infinity, he's great. The Infinity during Halo 4 was a pure exploration ship, just scouting out the galaxy. He knew that they were not fit to fight the Didact, so he commanded Chief and Lasky to pull back for reinforcements to properly take him down, but they obviously didn't listen, and he blew a bit of a fuse. He was very disrespectful and said a lot of harsh things, and that's really why I don't like him. He's just kind of a douchebag. And after he left Chief behind on Requiem, he was stripped of his duties and they were handed off to Lasky. The UNSC kinda did him dirty, and as much as I want to feel bad for him, I can't. He's just so unlikable. Those 3 were really the only new characters introduced in this game, and I think that's for the best. What 343 gave us was more than enough. And some people, Sarah Palmer, were even unnecessary additions.
To surrender that AI!
No, sir.
At least the gameplay is good though, right? Right? I mean, the gameplay isn't bad per se. Like I said earlier, some things were blatantly ripped from past Bungie games, and those still are just as fun. But before we talk about those levels, let's talk about some of the guns. The guns in this game are very fun to use, and some are pretty unique. The UNSC guns are pretty much the same. They're the part that isn't very unique, but there are some new additions. There are 3 new UNSC guns that only show up about 2 times throughout the campaign. Guns like the Saw, the Railgun, and the Remote Detonator. Only the Saw is ever worth using, acting as a drum mag SMG, but they're all very cool. The other 2 are just worse explosives compared to their counterparts. The Covenant weapons, on the other hand, while might have different names or designs, are also the exact same. Which is honestly a good decision on 343's part, I feel. They're just all the exact same guns with a redesign. The Promethean weapons, though, are brand new and kind of awesome. The pistol is really useful, and I'm taking it over the Promethean SMG any day of the week, because that thing is awful. The pistol is one of 2 Promethean guns with a different firing method. Normally, tapping the trigger fires a basic precision pistol shot, but if you charge that shot up, it turns into a nice close-quarters shotgun. It's not viable at all in any scenario, but it's fun. The other gun with an alt fire is the light rifle, or as I like to call it, the best gun in Halo 4. When hip firing, it shoots a quick 3-round burst dealing damage similar to the BR, but when scoped in, it fires a compressed rifle shot like the DMR. It's literally the best 2 guns combined. It's the best addition 343 ever made. Well, besides... To speed things up, I'll just say there is also a Promethean sniper and rocket launcher, both just as good as you expect from that weapon class. Finally, let's talk about the actual gameplay. Even though Halo 4 is mainly set on Requiem, the landscape changes drastically from mission to mission. There's a jungle, a desert, a sky mission, a space mission. It's cool and diverse, and I like it a lot. It's very pretty. Everything looks cared for. Overall, the level design is awesome. Good job, 343. It's kind of a shame though that they put this massive ugly HUD that takes up a decent amount of screen and only got bigger in Halo 5, even though people were complaining about it in Halo 4. Like, why are the corners of my screen blacked out? I understand it's supposed to make me feel like I'm Chief wearing this helmet, but like, come on man. Let me see this pretty level. Aside from that, the actual goal of each mission kind of feels underwhelming. It's just a lot of standing around defending an area. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody told me that Bungie actually designed Halo 4 while they're making Destiny 1. It's very boring and not much of a challenge, which is kind of funny because the Prometheans are pretty tough enemies. They move in hordes and the Knights have high health and even higher damage. And that little Watcher shit is always supporting them. All while the dogs are spraying you down from every angle. Literally every angle. They'll be above you. Halo 4 can be painful at times. I was on normal difficulty while we're playing the game for this video, and I died much more than I expected. Not to mention, some checkpoints are far and few in between. That's pretty much how every ground level goes though. There's no real threat felt, and you're just sitting around defending. Like, the Didact is on the verge of wiping out humanity, but it doesn't feel that way. The game was poorly paced, I feel. They squeezed a ton of story and lore into only 8 missions. I'm not counting the first and last mission because they're just cutscenes, so it's 8 missions. I think adding a few more for pacing purposes would drastically improve both the game's story and gameplay feel. Aside from the ground levels, the 2 flying stages I mentioned earlier are actually really damn good. While I love them both, one is just much better than the other, so let's talk about that one. The final mission starts with you taking a broadsword and flying into the Didact space, Star Wars style. Like, actually, you're an X-Wing taking down the Death Star, and it feels so cool. It's kind of hard to put all this into words, it's just a fun mission. Overall, the gameplay, while repetitive, is not bad. I've heard a lot of people complain about it, saying they don't enjoy it, and I can see exactly where they're coming from. I personally believe that even though it's not the old Halo feel, it's not a bad FPS game as a whole. It has obvious flaws, but the guns feel good, damage feels good, it just feels poorly paced. This video and script became something more than I initially thought it would be. I knew I liked Halo 4, but I didn't know I was this passionate. This game holds a dear place in my heart, despite all of its flaws. No matter how annoyed I may get while replaying this game, that ending cutscene always finds a way to heal every wound. If you made it this far in the video, thank you, and I hope you enjoyed it. I would love to hear your thoughts and takes on Halo 4 in the comments. And I know it's a little late to say thank you to all who have watched my other Halo videos, but thank you.
You did it. Just like you always do.